Friendsify you watch super hit movie The Life List in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, West Films. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called The Life List. I'm also going to give you all the information on which platform or on which satellite channel you will to watch this movie. This video is produced by West Films. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch all the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm going to tell you apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film's storyline, star cast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will give you a small review of the story of this film also. We will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office, collection of this film. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end, so let's start the video. The Life List is a 2005 American romantic comedy drama film. It was written and directed by Adam Brooks and adapted from the novel of the same name by Lori Nelson Spielman, starring Sofia Carson, Kyle Allen, and Connie Britton. After the death of her mother, Alex revisits her childhood aspirations, endeavoring to achieve her old goals, only to discover that pursuing these lifelong dreams takes her on an unforeseen and surprising journey. The film was released by Netflix on March 28, 2025. Plot: Alex Rose's mother, Elizabeth, succumbs to metastatic cancer. In her will, Alex's job at Rose Cosmetics is eradicated, and her sister-in-law becomes the CEO. Her house will stay off the market for a year, so they can use it until then. All but Alex get 20% of the company's shares, but her inheritance will be divulged after completing set tasks. Once alone, Alex watches Elizabeth's video, which explains hers will be unlocked after following the life list she wrote at 13 to prevent her from settling into a life out of obligation. Will executor, young lawyer Brad Ackerman, will verify each task's completion, then give her the corresponding video. Alex is given a 4-point true love test. For someone to pass it, 1, she must fully open her heart to them. They must 2, be kind, and 3, inspire her to be her best self, and 4, she could imagine having his kids. Alex shows her boyfriend Finn the list, who enthusiastically envisions them jointly owning and operating a gaming company. Appalled, she leaves. Alex later approaches Brad, accepting her mother's challenge. At a comedy club open mic night, Alex effectively shoots down a heckler. She then is tasked with getting out of her comfort zone daily for a week, so she teaches high schoolers in a shelter. Encountering difficulties with one, Alex seeks the shelter's coordinator, Garrett Taylor, who she briefly met recently. He gives suggestions on dealing with him. At a peacemaking dinner with her estranged father, Sam, Alex inadvertently discovers her birth father is musician Johnny Alvarez. Alex proposes finding him to her brothers, which Lucas supports, whereas Julian discourages her to avoid public scandal. Alex enlists her childhood piano teacher to learn Clair de Lune, but must later participate in a group recital. Still unable to connect with the challenging student, she goes back to Garrett. However, as he must attend a charity event, she tags along. Brad is also there with his girlfriend Nina, who is moving back to NYC. Seeing Patrick Ewing, Alex charms him. Dating Garrett, Alex gets Ewing to participate in another charity event where they shoot hoops, ticking more items on the list. As their activities are usually Garrett-focused, she gets him to come to a dinner party with her rambunctious friends. Afterwards, they argue because he felt uncomfortable. Garrett accuses her of only being with him to finish the list for her inheritance, and then leaves angrily. Without her ride, Brad and Nina drive Alex to Vermont to surprise Johnny. Nina, noting their chemistry, quietly leaves. Alex and Brad go to the gig, and Johnny comes over between sets as they were staring. They chat, agreeing to meet in the morning. Alex and Brad go drinking afterward, then later are intimate. In the morning, Johnny is a no-show. Saddened but unsurprised, they ride back home in silence. Arriving to her building, Alex thanks Brad and he kisses her. Chastising herself for believing meeting Johnny would fix everything, Brad praises her. Alex calls their intimacy a mistake. Then he reveals that he and Nina broke up over her. Upset he had not told her before they slept together, Alex sees Garrett so starts to leave. Brad insists he does not believe she loves Garrett. so she angrily leaves. However, when Alex talks with Garrett, although he says he missed her, she points out that what he had disliked that night in her apartment are essential elements of her, so they both move on. Lucas gets his siblings to meet at the house, supposedly in regards to its sale, but surprises them with an impromptu campout under the full moon. Both initially object, but end up staying. Alex tells them about the Vermont trip, and her brothers make her realize they were all envious of her close bond with Elizabeth. She shares the videos of their mother with them. Alex reconciles with Sam, finally. When she goes to the law office in December, she is surprised not to see Brad and expecting not to receive her inheritance as the list was not completed. However, Alex does receive it, the deed to the house. In her final video, Elizabeth asks her to strive for true love, and then Alex hugs her. Alex confesses to Brad she felt overwhelmed the last time they spoke. She insists he fulfills the 4 criteria of the true love test, and they embrace. At Alex's New Year's party in the house, Julian thanks their mother for helping them get through the year. Cast: Sofia Carson as Alex, Kyle Allen as Brad, Sebastian de Souza as Garrett, Connie Britton as Elizabeth, Jose Zúñiga as Samuel, Jordi Mola as Johnny, Dario Ladani Sanchez as Lucas, Federico Rodriguez as Julian, Marianne Rendon as Zoe, Michael Rowland as Finn, Chelsea Fry as Megan, Rachel Zeiger-Hogg as Catherine, Luca Padovan as Ezra, Maria Young as Nina, Donetta Lavinia Grays as Miss Howard, Jonathan Lipnick as Mr. Sullivan, Ben Warheit as Jackson, Mary Joy as Sally Wyman, Shannon Barnes as Nell, Patrick Ewing as himself. Production: the film was directed by Adam Brooks, who also adapted the novel of the same name by Lori Nelson Spielman. It was produced by Liza Chasin from 3 Dot Productions and Netflix. In March of 2024, it was announced that Sofia Carson would lead the cast alongside Kyle Allen, Sebastian de Souza, and Connie Britton. Jose Zúñiga, Jordi Mola, Marianne Rendon, and Chelsea Fry joined in April of the same year. The cast also... Principal photography took place in September 2024. Filming locations included Nyack, New York. Release: The Life List was released on Netflix on March 28, 2025. Reception: on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 45% of 20 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.110. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 49 out of 100 based on 6 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. It reached number 1 in movies on Netflix in the United States the week of April 8, 2025. The Life List review. There are big, all-consuming emotions contained within the cozy Netflix weepy The Life List. A film about grief, family, love, dreams, heartbreak, and the courage to strive for the life you truly want, rather than the one you've settled for. Based on the best-selling novel by Lori Nelson Spielman, it's a proudly heart-over-head confection, and given how the platform has become a reliable provider of movies and shows aimed at younger women who have been underserved elsewhere, it'll probably find its audience. But writer-director Adam Brooks, who knows this world better than most, having been involved in sturdy star-led studio films such as Definitely Maybe, Wimbledon, and the hugely underrated Meg Ryan rom-com French Kiss, can't quite squeeze the tears or cheers out of material that so desperately wants them. It's a film about experiences many of us should be able to identify with. The fear that we're not living our best life. The realization we're in an ill-fitting relationship, the crushing loss of a parent, but it's all too patent predified to register as believably human. It's a problem exacerbated by the choice of lead, the actor-singer Sofia Carson, who recently starred alongside Taron Egerton in Netflix's wonderful smash hit thriller, Carry On. Carson came of age as a Disney star, best known for the Descendants movies, and there's something a little too much of that blemish-free PG world that clashes with what we're supposed to believe about her character. She plays Alex, a scrappy band t-shirt-wearing, basketball-loving, adorkable mess who says the wrong thing and just can't quite get her life together. Her boyfriend works in a record store, but is developing a gory zombie video game while she has abandoned her dream of being a teacher to work for her mother's cosmetics company. The mother is played by Connie Britton, and while it would be nice to see the actor allowed to wrestle with more than another copy-paste maternal role, she brings a bit of weight to a film that sorely needs it. The film starts with Alex, late as usual, drinking her way through a family party. Classic, where her boyfriend accidentally exposes himself to her niece and nephew. Before her mother shares some devastating news. The cancer she thought was in remission has returned, and there's nothing that can be done. Brooks wisely transitions straight to her funeral as Alex tries to pick up the pieces. A reading of the will from the family's conveniently cute lawyer, Kyle Allen, of the incredibly charming high-concept rom-com The Map of Tiny Perfect Things, reveals that Alex hasn't been left in control of her family company and has instead been left with a DVD and a familiar scrap of paper, her life list of goals, dreams, written as a child. In order to find out what her inheritance will be, Alex must tick off every one of them before the end of the year, each also unlocking a new DVD containing a personal message from beyond the grave. Alex's 12 months are then filled with living, taking part in a mosh pit, laughing, doing stand-up, and loving. Her final bullet point aims for true love. It's P.S. I Love You for the mother-daughter crowd, a potentially more interesting dynamic than a simple girl-loses-boy romance. There's deep affection in the dynamic, but also a sense of disappointment that Alex hasn't become the person she could have been because of the fear involved with taking a chance. Yet the film is ultimately more interested in Alex's low-stakes love life over her familial relationships or personal growth or, career. Her teaching ambitions are introduced, then swiftly, lazily ignored. The film is a reminder that sadly far too many films with female leads are still more focused on who they end up with rather than who they end up being. The Life List does benefit from genuine, point-and-recognize locations in and around Manhattan and Brooklyn, an unusual on-the-ground gloss often not afforded to smaller Netflix titles, and a successful hark back to the 90s Zerods films it would like to be filed next to. That same sense of nostalgia might explain both the DVDs and why a song by the Ting Tings is used 3 times as an unofficial theme tune. But Carson, while competent, doesn't have the magnetic pull and preternatural charm of the leads who dominated during that time, a freer sense of fun and a wilder spirit never really shining through, her performance as carefully smoothed out as the film surrounding her. The word messy is bandied around by its characters, but the Life List is far too clean. With smarter streamlining, the Life List could have been impactful. As is, the 2-hour-plus Netflix original suffers by attempting to blend 2 predictable storylines into one. A reductive, romantic search for the one, crammed in alongside a drama about a directionless woman encouraged by her dead mother to rediscover her joie de vivre in order to claim her inheritance. Not only does its narrative momentum stall all too frequently, but our heroine's completion quests lack the basics to deliver rousing feelings. Worse still, it's frustratingly more concerned with telling us how she's financially able to afford having a delayed quarter-life identity crisis in New York City than it is with giving her journey toward enlightenment any genuine, satiating sense of internal transformation. Droll Alex, Sofia Carson, is stuck in her life, only she doesn't realize it. She bides her free time in an unglamorous city loft apartment with her long-term layabout boyfriend Finn, Michael Rowland. She's been out of her dream job as a teacher for months and has fallen back on a career in marketing, working for her mom Elizabeth's Connie Britton cosmetics company. Unlike her brothers Lucas, Dario Ladani Sanchez, and Julian Federico Rodriguez, she has no immediate plans for kids and suburban living. She's a caring aunt and a great friend to her sweet sister-in-law Zoe, Marianne Rendon, and snarky blonde bestie Megan, Chelsea Fry. Yet the world as Alex knows it is about to be upended. Elizabeth dies of cancer, or so we infer through context clues, as the filmmaker treats saying it like it's the other C word, and has left specific instructions for her estate with fresh-faced associate lawyer Brad, Kyle Allen. In lieu of getting an expected job promotion and familial belongings, Alex is surprised by a motherly lecture from beyond the grave on a recordable DVD. Mom's orders are clear. Alex is to accomplish 12 line items on her 13-year-old self's bucket list by the end of the year, or she won't receive her inheritance. Alex's mission to reignite her sense of self and spend a little more time with her mother via pre-recorded video vignettes won't be easy, as the list is filled with tough tasks like playing classical piano, reading Moby Dick, and finding true love. Adapting his film from Laurie Nelson Spielman's novel of the same name, writer-director Adam Brooks, Definitely Maybe, experiences difficulty transforming the characters and their conundrums from page to screen. He fails to know exactly what to cut, what to keep, and what to completely overhaul. A huge family secret reveal takes us on a detour for a large portion of time that would play better in an episodic series rather than a condensed film. It maddeningly states and reiterates things that were shown mere minutes prior. There are assignments within Alex's original assignment, adding bullet points to her to-do list, like playing in a recital and completing Elizabeth's true love questionnaire, as well as further obligations to do other things that scare her for a week straight. With the exception of the two men who provide the film with its ridiculously unexciting love triangle, everyone in Alex's orbit is one-dimensional and uninteresting. We're given few reasons to care about these people. Megan is a pretty terrible pal, torpedoing Alex's burgeoning relationship with potential paramour Garrett, Sebastian D'Souza. Brad's gorgeous girlfriend Nina, Maria Jung, is friendly with Alex, chatting and singing during a long car ride, but suddenly turns on her for no better reason than screenwriter-contrived female jealousy. Julian and Lucas are so bland, they're basically interchangeable. Their wants are expressed late in the film, providing padding instead of an honest new angle. And then there's Alex. It's easy to understand the actions that have her settling for a drab career and passionless relationship, but we rarely empathize with her. Not for lack of trying either. Carson instills in her hints of humanity and tenderness underneath a hardened exterior. Her comedic timing, nuance, and witty rapport with Alan gift the film with glints of light and effervescence as she elevates the material while downplaying Alex's harder edges. Yet the character conceived by the author and filmmaker is fairly selfish, and when faced with opportunities to truly evolve, she doesn't take them. Her experience taming troubled student Ezra, Luca Padovan, almost earns her our sympathies. Almost. She acquires new skills, inevitably breaking free from her comfort zone, but that's different than growing as a human being. All she succeeds in doing is centering herself without doing any of the emotional labor. From the way she repeatedly sets up Garrett for failure, to how she doesn't factor in anyone's feelings but her own, specifically when confronted by men from her past who've disappointed her. Where the narrative is left lacking, Brooks and company find some strength in their aesthetics. The dissolve from a God's eye view of a comforting, warm embrace in a bed between mother and daughter to the cold, sorrowful chill of Alex's lonely body hits us like a wallop. Backlit by golden light, the teenage girl-style handwriting that scrolls across the screen during the montage when Alex completes a few goals evokes the nostalgia of a bygone era. The awkward conversation between Alex and her estranged father Samuel, Jose Zuniga, as traffic speeds between the pair emphasizes the chasm in their relationship. Gender-flipping a few genre tropes, like showing the guy as the klutz and having the girl chase him down to proclaim her love, no longer passes for subversive. Sadly, the film's sentiments hold as much depth and resonance as a live, laugh, love placard on a dusty shelf at HomeGoods. It's ironic that for a movie hoping to inspire us to take risks and rediscover our own dreams, it's far too comfortable settling for dull, formulaic conflicts and shenanigans to tell its tale. There is no time like the present for a hopeful remedy to the modern world, and the Life List is ready to deliver. The upcoming Netflix film follows a young woman in one of the most painful moments a person can experience. Recently grappling with her mother Elizabeth's, Connie Britton, death, Alex Rose, Sofia Carson, goes to a lawyer, Kyle Allen, to get her affairs in order. He gives Alex a DVD that Elizabeth recorded for her before her death. In it, Elizabeth hopes for the best for her daughter and brings up a bucket list of sorts that Alex wrote when she was 13. Elizabeth wants her daughter to live a full life and instructs her to accomplish everything on the list, including doing stand-up comedy and finding true love. One of these tasks is inherently easier than the other, but throughout the film, Alex finds purpose and perhaps a way to get to that sticky true love clause. Britton appears throughout the trailer as the deceased Elizabeth through these pre-recorded DVDs, giving Alex life lessons along the way. The Life List is one of the most anticipated films of 2025, a lighthearted comedy that has all the hallmarks of a good comedic family drama. The source material for the film is a book by Lori Nelson Spielman that appealed to actors and creatives alike. The Life List follows the difficult terrain of losing a loved one, but this material made many come aboard the film. Sofia Carson told Entertainment Weekly that she and director Adam Brooks commiserated over the relationship between mother and daughter in the film. Carson also explained that her own mother initially gave her the script, and she had connected with the character Alex almost immediately. For his part, Brooks had read the book over a decade ago and was intent on getting the story to film, as he told the outlet. Viewers can expect tear-jerking moments as well as romance in this film about living life to the fullest. The course of true love never does run smooth, and Alex has a few options, so she may eventually collect on her mother's inheritance. Viewers can catch The Life List, which premieres on March 28th, only on Netflix. After getting her start in Descendants, Sofia Carson has gone from a Disney star to a Netflix regular. Ever since Feel the Beat was released in 2020, the actress has continued to further her ties with the streaming service, leading other productions like Purple Hearts and the holiday thriller Carry On. Her latest entry to the canon is The Life List, a touching adaptation of Lori Nelson Spielman's novel of the same name. In it, she plays Alex, a woman who is seemingly stuck in life and receives a wake-up call from her mother beyond the grave to pursue her dreams. This endearing premise, with a mother continuing to check in on her daughter posthumously, is the main draw for Carson's latest collaboration with Netflix. Yet, the film also doesn't shy away from threading into romance territory. A love triangle is interwoven with Alex's journey to accomplish all the items on her bucket list, adding a dose of messiness to her path to self-discovery. Balancing romance and grief, The Life List proves to be the type of feel-good fluff you'd expect it to be. Still, that doesn't mean you shouldn't tag along. The film starts with Alex getting ready to attend her sister-in-law's baby shower. She knows that from the moment she walks in, she'll be bombarded with questions about why she stopped teaching or what her boyfriend does for a living, all of which she isn't keen on responding to. The truth is, she has no drive to make plans or pursue personal goals anymore. Alex has settled down, not because she has everything she's always wanted, but because she is indifferent about the choices she's been making. That is until her mother, Elizabeth, played by Connie Britton, passes away and leaves behind an unusual request in order for her daughter to get her cut of the inheritance. Elizabeth made a series of recordings of herself before she died, prompting Alex to revisit a life list she wrote at 13 and watch a DVD every time she is able to cross out an item from said list. Although the protagonist initially thinks that this might be a ridiculous idea, considering that she wrote it years ago, Alex reluctantly gives in to her mother's dying wish. From trying stand-up comedy to reading Moby Dick cover to cover without falling asleep, the main character takes this challenge seriously and looks forward to every goal she's able to accomplish to get another chance to see her mother, even if it is via DVD. Helping her on this journey is Brad, Kyle Allen, the lawyer Elizabeth worked with in the last draft of her will. Although the two initially butt heads, they grow closer as Alex strives to tick off every item on the list. Soon enough, she's almost done. The only task remaining is to fall in love. Although The Life List has its flaws, Carson and Britton make for the film's best on-screen partnership, although most of the time they are not on screen together. Except for the beginning, where the audience catches a glimpse of how they interacted before Elizabeth's death, Alex often sees her mother through DVD recordings. To Britton's credit, she is able to create a connection with both the viewer and Carson's character by being tender and understanding, even in the slight instances that her face pops up on the TV. Similarly to her portrayal of Tammy in Friday Night Lights, her role in this Netflix original requires that her presence be larger than life, and that her care for Alex is genuine and relatable, something she does effortlessly. Carson is also charming as Alex. The character's newfound urge to take risks and follow her heart is what drives the film, and there is something about her sense of humor and down-to-earth personality that makes for a lovable lead. Although the actress doesn't step away from what she's been able to do in the past on other projects she's been a part of, that doesn't prevent her from being a charismatic performer in the life list. You can't help but feel for Alex as she tries to mend her broken relationship with her father or tries to find her true love. The inheritance is the least of her concerns, but rather her decision to listen to her mother's advice and not take life for granted. Yet, the film's main fault is its underdeveloped subplots. Adam Brooks is responsible for adapting and helming this Netflix original, and he delivers some emotive instances between Alex and her family. Yet, when it comes to her romantic relationships, as well as her return to the classroom, audiences are more likely than not to be left dissatisfied. Although on the page it is easy to see why Carson's character would be attracted to the wealthy and handsome Garrett, Sebastian D'Souza, or why she would form a platonic bond with Brad, the lack of chemistry between Carson and her male counterparts keeps viewers from not caring about the cliches surrounding the love triangle. The film also doesn't put a lot of thought into Alex and Ezra's Luca Padovan link. When she goes back to teaching, Ezra makes her job difficult with his rebellious attitude in class, yet their student-teacher relationship is never given proper attention. Even though the romantic elements aren't as rewarding as the familial ties at the heart of the life list, the project still has its merits. From Carson's captivating depiction of Alex to Britton's warm and motherly presence, there are parts of this film that will be enjoyable for a viewer looking for something sweet and emotional to tune into for an hour and a half. There will be moments where you'll want to roll your eyes at the plot's predictability, but there will also be instances in which you are likely to well up. As Alex comes to value her life instead of choosing comfort, the film delivers a hopeful message that will lead you to wonder what dreams you've been leaving on the back burner and what is stopping you from making them come true. When I sat down to watch the life list, I thought I had a pretty decent idea of what I was getting into, and I'll admit, my assumptions stemmed from a pretty cynical place. On the surface, the story sounds like its aspirational nature could veer into the saccharine, executed with the one-dimensional sheen that regrettably covers many streaming originals these days. It's the kind of movie where you can predict its ending almost from the moment you press play. And yet, while the life list can't entirely avoid some shallowness, I found myself quite charmed by it. There's an inherent coziness within the production that, in a way, made it the perfect movie for a quiet Sunday night. While I'm not entirely sure that it's one I'll ever revisit, it has its charms, and I'm certain it will resonate with plenty of viewers. A lot of its success comes down to Sofia Carson, who seems to be quietly becoming one of the streaming service's most valuable stars after a slew of major Netflix originals, including Purple Hearts and Carry On. At the start of the life list, directed by Adam Brooks, Carson's Alex is in a rut. She's given up on her dream job, teaching. She's with a sweet but deeply immature boyfriend, and she doesn't seem eager to push herself beyond the comfortable standstill she's found herself in. Sure, much of this is communicated to us via characters speculating about Alex aloud more than anything else, but it's clear right from the get-go that this is a woman in need of a push. Unfortunately, it comes with the death of her beloved mother, Elizabeth, Connie Britton. Alex expects to get Elizabeth's company in her will, or at least have the job her mother gave her solidified. Instead, Elizabeth's attorney, Brad, Kyle Allen, informs Alex that she gets nothing at first. Elizabeth has left Alex a series of videos, and she'll only get each installment, as well as her complete inheritance, once she completes her life list, the to-do list she penned when she was 13 years old. Made up of items such as try stand-up comedy and become the best teacher possible. It's the kind of ambitious task list only an idealistic kid could come up with. Alex scoffs at the idea for approximately 5 minutes, and then she throws herself into the tasks with gusto. Considering she was meant to be in the kind of rut that causes worry and whispers among her loved ones, it's almost surprising to see how relatively simple it is for Alex to branch out and try new things. The life list isn't especially interested in exploring exactly what caused Alex to become stuck in her own life. She didn't appear to suffer any kind of profound trauma, and even if it was ultimately depression or anxiety, the movie never digs into it meaningfully. This does somewhat lessen the overall impact of Alex's journey. If it's so easy to regain her love of teaching or throw herself into piano lessons, was she really all that stuck to begin with? But I don't think it ruins the life list's general message. Coming from someone in her late 20s, taking stock of her own life, there's something quietly profound about considering what kind of life you want to lead and what you need to do to achieve it. And the life list shows how important it is to take that time to think and enact change. Though the story could easily veer into over-sentimentality, the movie is grounded by Carson's thoughtful performance. Alex is a well-rounded character with admittedly minor flaws and clear aspirations, and Carson portrays her with a strength that only makes her more compelling. While Britton's performance is largely relegated to the video messages Elizabeth leaves for Alex, she brings her signature maternal warmth to every scene she's in, which only adds to the overall cozy atmosphere the life list gives off. Alex has a couple of potential romantic suitors at play, but it likely won't be much of a spoiler to say it's her chemistry with Alan's Brad that truly gives off sparks. They have a sweet dynamic that unfolds in a believable, earnest way. The life list doesn't offer too many surprises or dwell in any unpleasantness for too long, making for a simple and relaxing viewing experience that hits right in the heart. Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life is a film of vast ambition and deep humility, attempting no less than to encompass all of existence and view it through the prism of a few infinitesimal lives. The only other film I've seen with this boldness of vision is Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, and it lacked Malick's fierce evocation of human feeling. There were once several directors who yearned to make no less than a masterpiece, but now there are only a few. Malick has stayed true to that hope ever since his first feature in 1973. I don't know when a film has connected more immediately with my own personal experience. In uncanny ways, the central events of The Tree of Life reflect a time and place I lived in, and the boys in it are me. If I set out to make an autobiographical film, and if I had Malick's gift, it would look so much like this. His scenes portray a childhood in a town in the American Midlands, where life flows in and out through open windows. There is a father who maintains discipline and a mother who exudes forgiveness, and long summer days of play and idleness and urgent unsaid questions about the meaning of things. The three boys of the O'Brien family are browned by the sun, scuffed by play, disturbed by glimpses of adult secrets, filled with a great urgency to grow up and discover who they are. I wrote earlier about the many ways this film evoked my own memories of such time and place. About wide lawns. About a town that somehow in memory is always seen with a wide-angle lens. About houses that are never locked. About mothers looking out windows to check on their children. About the summer heat and ennui of church services, and the unpredictable theater of the dinner table, and the troubling sounds of an argument between parents, half heard through an open window. Watching the film, I remembered Ray Bradbury's memory of a boy waking up to the sound of a green machine outside his window, a hand-pushed lawnmower. Perhaps you grew up in a big city, with the doors locked and everything air-conditioned. Doesn't matter. Most of us, unless we're unlucky, have something of the same childhood, because we are protected by innocence and naivete. As I mentioned the O'Brien family, I realized one detail the film has precisely right. The parents are named Mr. O'Brien and Mrs. O'Brien. Yes, because the parents of other kids were never thought of by their first names, and the first names of your own parents were words used only by others. Your parents were mother and father, and they defined your reality, and you were open to their emotions, both calming and alarming. And young Jack O'Brien is growing, and someday will become Mr. O'Brien, but will never seem to himself as real as his father did. Rarely does a film seem more obviously a collaboration of love between a director and his production designer, in this case, Jack Fisk. Fisk is about my age and was born and raised in downstate Illinois, and so of course knows that in the late 40s, tall aluminum drinking glasses were used for lemonade and iced tea. He has all the other details right too, but his design fits seamlessly into the lives of his characters. What's uncanny is that Malick creates the O'Brien parents and their 3 boys without an obvious plot. The movie captures the unplanned unfolding of summer days and the overheard words of people almost talking to themselves. The film's portrait of everyday life, inspired by Malick's memories of his hometown of Waco, Texas, is bounded by 2 immensities, one of space and time, and the other of spirituality. The Tree of Life has awe-inspiring visuals suggesting the birth and expansion of the universe, the appearance of life on a microscopic level, and the evolution of species. This process leads to the present moment and to all of us. We were created in the Big Bang, and over untold millions of years, molecules formed themselves into, well, you and me. And what comes after? In whispered words near the beginning, nature and grace are heard. We have seen nature as it gives and takes away. One of the family's boys dies. We also see how it works with time, as Jack O'Brien, Hunter McCracken, grows into a middle-aged man, Sean Penn. And what then? The film's coda provides a vision of an afterlife, a desolate landscape on which quiet people solemnly recognize and greet one another, and all is understood in the fullness of time. Some reviews have said Mr. O'Brien, Brad Pitt, crew cut, never more of a regular guy, is too strict as a disciplinarian. I don't think so. He is doing what he thinks is right, as he was reared. Mrs. O'Brien, the ethereal Jessica Chastain, is gentler and more understanding, but there is no indication she feels her husband is cruel. Of course, children resent discipline, and of course a kid might sometimes get whacked at the dinner table circa 1950. But listen to an acute exchange of dialogue between Jack and his father. "I was a little hard on you sometimes," Mr. Brian says, and Jack replies, "It's your house. You can do what you want to." Jack is defending his father against himself. That's how you grow up, and it all happens in this blink of a lifetime, surrounded by the realms of unimaginable time and space. Brad are talking about Alex and how she's so special and different, and that is also pretty icky. And there will be a moment where we learn that while Alex thought she had a difficult relationship with her father, really who had the hard time were her brothers, who felt shut out of her relationship with their mother. Friends, remember that no matter what happens, it's probably always worse for the men. Though, I will again acknowledge that this whole list DVD scavenger hunt only for Alex is pretty hurtful and weird. Eventually there will be tumultuous falling outs and important run-ins and meetings and happenings and montages, all of which will help Alex understand who she is in the world and who she wants to become. She'll ask herself those questions about love again, and you'll be utterly unsurprised but pleasantly pleased by who it is that answers them all affirmatively for her heart in the know. And she'll get the envelope that contains her inheritance, but of course we're meant to see that what she's gained is a whole life, which is a lovely sentiment to this, but the truth is much like this movie. It never could get those magic eye pictures to work right. The Life List is a 2025 American romantic comedy drama film. It was written and directed by Adam Brooks and adapted from the novel of the same name by Lori Nelson Spielman, starring Sofia Carson, Kyle Allen, and Connie Britton. After the death of her mother, Alex revisits her childhood aspirations, endeavoring to achieve hero goals only to discover that pursuing these lifelong dreams takes her on an unforeseen and surprising journey. The film was released by Netflix on March 28, 2025. Movie plot: Rose's mother, Elizabeth, tells her cancer is back and metastasized. Elizabeth fears Alexis settling into a life out of obligation. Elizabeth's will reveals Alex no longer has a job at Rose Cosmetics, and her sister-in-law is the CEO. Her house will stay off the market for a year, so available to them for now. Each get 20% of the company's shares, but Alex's inheritance will be divulged after completing set tasks. Once alone, Alex watches her mother's video explanation. Elizabeth wants Alex to follow the life list. Wrote at 13 after completing the tasks. Her inheritance will be unlocked. Young lawyer Brad Ariant, the will's executive, will verify each task's completion, then give her the subsequent video. Alexis given a true love test to determine if she is truly in love. Its 4 criteria are: 1, if she can fully open her heart to the person; 2, that he's keen; 3, that he inspires her to be her best self; and 4, she could envision him as father to her future children. After Alex shows her boyfriend Finn the list, he enthusiastically envisions them jointly owning a gaming company where they both would work. Appalled, she leaves. Alex later approaches Brad, accepting her mother's challenge at a comedy club open mic night. Alex effectively shoots down a heckler. She then is challenged to get out of her comfort zone daily for a week. Brad gets her to volunteer teach high schoolers in a shelter, encountering difficulties with a student. Alex is taken to the shelter's coordinator, Garrett Taylor. Having briefly met on the subway, he gives her advice on dealing with the youth at a peacemaking dinner with her arranged father, Sam Alex inadvertently discovers she is the result of her mother's affair with musician Johnny Alvarez. Meeting with her brothers, Alex proposes finding him, which her brother Lucas supports, whereas Julian discourages her to avoid public scandal, to learn to play. Claire DeLune. Alex enlists her childhood piano teacher, who accepts on the condition that she participate in a group recital. After another failed attempt to connect with the challenging student, she again goes to Garrett. However, as he has a charity event to attend, she tags along. Brad is also there with his girlfriend Nenna, who is soon to be moving back. Seeing Patrick Ewing, Alex gets an introduction, so charms him as Garrett and Brad talk about her dating. Alex gets Ewing to participate in a charity event where they shoot hoops together, ticking more items on the list. When she unhappily points out to Garrett their activities focus on him, she gets him to come to a dinner party at hers afterwards. They argue because he was uncomfortable with her rambunctious friends for some of the things they said. He further accuses her of only being with him to finish the list for her inheritance, then leaves angry without her ride. Brad and Na drive Alex to surprise Johnny at a gig in Vermont, booking adjoining rooms. Nina notices their chemistry, so quietly leaves. Alex and Brad go to the gig, and Johnny comes over between sets as they were staring. They chat, agreeing to meet in the morning. Alex and Brad go drinking afterward, then later are intimate in the morning. Johnny is a no-show, saddened but unsurprised. They ride back to NYC in silence. Alex thanks Brad as they pull up to her building. He kisses her. Then she chastises herself for believing meeting her birth father would fix things. Brad goes on to praise her. She calls their intimacy a mistake. Then he reveals that he and Na broke up over her upset. He had not told her before they slept together. Alex sees Garrett, so starts to leave. Brad tells her he does not believe she loves Garrett. She angrily gets out of the car. However, Alex talks with Garrett in her building, although he says he missed her. She tells him that what he had disliked that night in her apartment are essential elements of her. Alone again, they both move on. Lucas gets Julian and Alex to meet at the house, believing it is about its sale. He surprises them with an impromptu camp-out under the full moon. Both initially object, but end up staying. Alex tells them about the Vermont trip, and her brothers make her aware that they were all envious of her close bond with Elizabeth. She shares the videos of their mother with them. Alex meets with Sam again, and they reconcile when she goes to the law office in December. She expects both to see Brad and be told she will not receive her inheritance, as she did not complete the list, regardless. Alex receives her inheritance, the deed to the house, in her final video. Elizabeth asks her to strive for true love, and she watches them together. Alex apologized to Brad, confessing that the last time they spoke, she felt overwhelmed. She insists she fulfills the 4 criteria of the true love test, and they embrace. Alex invites everyone over for New Year's, where Julian to his stooled friends and New thanking their mother for helping them get through their years. Sofia Carson as Alex, Kyle Allen as Brad, Sebastian Duz as Garrett, Connie Britton as Elizabeth, Jose Zuniga as Samuel, Jordi Mala as Johnny, Dario Lee, Danny Sanchez as Lucas, Federico Rodriguez as Julian, Marianne, Rendana, Zoe Michael, Roland as Finn Chelsea. Free as Megan Rachel Zigerhogus, Catherine Luca Padavanis, Ezra Maria Jung as Nina Danetta, Lavinia Grace as Mshoward, Jonathan Lipnick as Miss Sullivan, Ben Warhite as Jackson, Mary Joy as Sally. Wyman Shannon Barnes as Nell, Patrick Ewing as himself. Production the film was directed by Adam Brooks, who also adapted the novel of the same name by Laurie Nelson Spielman. It was produced by Liza Chasin from 3 Dot Productions and Netflix in March of 2024. It was announced that Sofia Carson would lead the cast alongside Kyle Allen, Sebastian Duzan, Connie Britton, Jose Zuniga, Jordi Mola. Marianne Rendon and Chelsea Free joined in April of the same year. The cast also includes Michael Roland, Dario Latin, Sanchez, Federico Rodriguez, and Maria Jung. Principal photography took place in September 2024 filming. Locations included Nyack, New York. Released The Life List was released on Netflix on March 28, 2025. Reception on the review aggregator website. Rotten Tomatoes, 47% of 19 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.2. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 49 out of 100 based on 6 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. The Life List movie review, the rare big all-consuming emotions contained within the cozy Netflix Wait a Life Lista. Film about grief, family, love, dreams, heartbreak, and the courage to strive for the life you truly want rather than the one you settled for. Based on the best-selling novel by Laurie Nelson Spielman, it's a proudly heart-overhead confection. And given how the platform has become a reliable provider of movies and shows aimed at younger women who have been underserved elsewhere, it'll probably find its audience. But writer, director Adam Brooks, who knows this world better than most, having been involved in sturdy star-led studio films such as Definitely Maybe Wimbledon and the hugely underrated Meg Ryan rom-com French Kiss, can't quite squeeze the tears or cheers out of material that so desperately wants them. It's a film about experiences. Many of us should be able to identify with the fear that we're not living our best life, the realization we're in an ill-fitting relationship, the crushing loss of a parent, but it's all too pat and pitified to register as believably human. It's a problem exacerbated by the choice of lead. The actor-singer Sofia Carson, who recently starred alongside Taron Egerton in Netflix's wonderful smash hit thriller Carry On. Carson came of age as a Disney star, best known for the Descendants movies, and there's something a little too much of that blemish-free PG world that clashes with what we're supposed to believe about her character. She plays Alex, a scrappy band t-shirt wearing, basketball-loving, adorable mess who says the wrong thing and just can't quite get her life together. Her boyfriend works in a record store but is developing a gory zombie video game while she has abandoned her dream of being a teacher to work for her mother's cosmetics company. The mother is played by Connie Britton, and while it would be nice to see the actor allowed to wrestle with more than another copy-paste maternal role, she brings a bit of weight to a film that sorely needs it. The film starts with Alex, late as usual, drinking her way through a family party classic where her boyfriend accidentally exposes himself to her niece and nephew. Before her mother shares some devastating news. The cancer she thought was in remission has returned, and there's nothing that can be done. Brooks wisely transitions straight to her funeral as Alex tries to pick up the pieces. A reading of the will from the family's conveniently cute lawyer, Kyle Allen, of the incredibly charming high-concept rom-com The Map of Tiny Perfect Things, reveals that Alex hasn't been left in control of her family company and has instead been left with a DVD and a familiar scrap of paper. Her life list of goals/dreams written as a child in order to find out what her inheritance will be. Alex must tick off every one of them before the end of the year, each also unlocking a new DVD containing a personal message from beyond the grave. Alex's 12 months are then filled with living, taking part in a mosh pit, laughing, doing stand-up, and loving her. final bullet point aims for true love. It's P.S. I love you for the mother-daughter crowd, a potentially more interesting dynamic than a simple girl loses boy romance. There's deep affection in the dynamic, but also a sense of disappointment that Alex hasn't become the person she could have been because of the fear involved with taking a chance. Yet the film is ultimately more interested in Alex's low-stakes love life. Over her familial relationships or personal growth or gulp career. Her teaching ambitions are introduced, then swiftly, lazily ignored. The film is a reminder that sadly far too many films with female leads are still more focused on who they end up with rather than who they end up being. The Life List does benefit from genuine point and recognized locations in and around Manhattan and Brooklyn, an unusual on the ground gloss often not afforded to smaller Netflix titles, and a successful hark back to the 90s thousand films it would like to be filed next to that same sense of nostalgia might explain both the DVDs and why a song by the Ting Tings is used 3 times as an unofficial theme tune. But Carson, while competent, doesn't have the magnetic pull and preternatural charm of the leads who dominated during that time. A freer sense of fun and a wilder spirit never really shining through her performance as carefully smoothed out as the film surrounding her. The word messy is bandied around by its characters, but the Life List is far too clean. Let's start by defining Wayward Alex. Carson is dating a guy who works in a record store. I take offense to that way to alienate me within 3 minutes here movie. She lost her job unfairly as a teacher and now works for her makeup mogul mom Elizabeth. Connie Britton, which, Nepo City, and she tends to gaze longingly out windows and into mirrors as if she's looking for something like what you may ask herself anyway. These are symptoms indicating that she's just getting by instead of actually living life. Alex stands around awkwardly at her sister-in-law's baby shower, everybody side-eyeing record store clerk guy. Hey, he's also trying to develop and launch a video game so you can keep your slacker jokes in your pocket, thank you. And she looks at all those side eyes like they all have their together, and she doesn't. But here's the secret, sister. Nobody has their together. We're all flailing. Sometimes you accomplish something meaningful, and sometimes you just get by and it's okay. Trust me. Then the bomb drops. Catherine wraps her arms around Alex and says, it's back, and the treatment ain't worth it. 2 minutes later, the screen dissolves from Catherine and Alex embracing on the bed to Alex alone on the bed in a black dress, ready to walk downstairs for the wake. She and her brothers, Julian Federico Rodriguez and his wife Catherine Rachel Zigerhawk, and Lucas Dario Latin Sanchez and his wife Zoe Moran Rendon, gather at the lawyer's office to read the will. And is it me, or is the junior not yet a partner handling the paperwork? Brad Kyle Allen, super cute. Yeah, he is. But what he reads is less delicious for Alex, because even though she heads her mom's marketing department, she doesn't inherit control of the company as expected. In fact, she's essentially fired and forced to complete the Life List, a list of goals Alex made when she was 13 and has yet to achieve. She has a year, then she'll get her inheritance, which is a secret until there's a check mark next to all the things. But wait, there has to be some cutesy gimmick layered into the regular gimmick, right? That's a bingo every time. Alex completes one of the goals. Brad gives her a DVD video. Elizabeth Maid espousing wisdom and knowledge from beyond the grave. Note more screen time for Connie. Britton is never a bad thing. What's on the list then silly stuff like get a tattoo or lose your freaking mind in a mosh pit, but also an impossible stuff like be a great teacher, make up with dad and find true love. And the first order of business is to drop record store guy Michael Rowland so he can yell desperately out the window as she's moving out in his Lloyd Dobble. Wait, no, Rob Gordon. It's definitely this Rob Gordon moment. Then she sets up in Elizabeth's house and gets to work. Brad is a sweet dude who helps her and enders himself to her. And she also meets and starts dating sophisticated hunk Garrett, Sebastian Duza. And if you're sensing a third act who's a ganub, well, you're on the right track. And so Alex reads Moby. Dick and finds a teaching gig and takes piano lessons and meets up with her dad, Jose Zuniga, and learns some family secrets, etc., etc., hopefully becoming far less wayward as she goes, just as her dear sweet saintly mother planned. Can someone make the list a bit shorter, please? Lop. Off a Koopa bullet points, the life list absolutely doesn't need to push past the 2-hour mark because it doesn't have anything to say that can't be summed up within the confines of a sign you'd see in the home decor aisle at Hobby Lobby. Like I sure do like coffee. Or if you sprinkle when you tinkle, be a sweetie, and wipe the seat tie, it's dangerously close to being live, laugh, love the movie. But I was grateful that the characters here are easy to hang out with, like a nice neutral beige wallpaper or a print of a pastoral scene by Thomas Kincaid, painter of light. I go hard at this movie because its cutesy tends to be simplistic in its life lessons and might have been written by the karmic hand of the late character played by Connie Britton, considering how Alex's success hinges on contrivance and coincidence. But the life list might erode your defenses as it did mine, at least enough to make it palatable. It's inoffensive, without being offensively inoffensive, and features many nicely executed comedic moments from its large supporting cast. The ever-endearing former Disney Channel staple, Carson is capable of bearing the load of its light comedy and middleweight drama, even when the character written for her is about a quarter shade shy of being a recognizable three-dimensional human being. Crucially, the film tips more toward the drama portion of Dramedy Via. Alex's assertion of her goals, she isn't jumping through hoops just for material rewards, but because she understands the wisdom her mother espouses. Carson's easygoing chemistry with Alan just might win you over. And she churns up some relatable emotions that feel more like tangible expressions of fear, sadness, and self-doubt than overwrought means of manipulating our tear ducts. When it comes down to it, this is a movie about working through grief by working on yourself, a sentiment that ultimately grows a hair too big for a Hobby Lobby plaque. That's a good thing. Other information about this film. So I really love this movie. The focus on the mother-daughter relationship with a life hunt and romantic subplots pulls me into the Life List 2025 immediately. Not only did it make for a movie that never leaves you bored, it also gave a huge emotional impact due to many different factors. There was a lot to like about this movie, and only a few things that made me really mad. However, I'll go over everything and give you a warning before any spoilers below. This was probably one of my favorite parts about the movie as a whole. The plot and writing and emotions intertwined into the writing were absolutely beautiful. I feel like most emotional scenes hit their mark, and I honestly teared up for a few of the better scenes. Everything in the beginning made sense, and as the plot progressed, you get to see each event unravel in a satisfying, for the most part, and realistic way. The characters and actors, Sofia Carson as Alex, did an amazing job. I loved her acting, her emotions, and her goofy demeanor. Kyle Allen as Brad was already a winner before I even watched him on screen. I don't know what it is, but Kyle Allen just has this goofy, nerdy, boyish cuteness that you cannot resist. Don't even try to tell me otherwise, because you can't change my mind. The chemistry between him and Sofia as Brad and Alex was just perfect and led to a very realistic feeling romance. However, some of the decisions that the characters made ended up making me really disappointed in parts of the movie. I'll go into that more in the spoilers. I usually don't make a lot of mention for the directors, which I totally should, because they put in a ton of work for movies to make them happen. But I just had to mention Adam Brooks' decisions as a director because I love them so much. There are scenes where the transitions just make such a huge impact on the movie. Obviously, Alex's mother dies. Very first 5 minutes-ish of the movie, there is a beautiful transition from Alex and her mother to just Alex that hits you so hard emotionally. That directorial decision was so good. There are also scenes in the movie where there's a classical song playing and then moving into the next scene. It's the same song, just in a different genre of music to match the scene more. I thought this was so cool because it gives you this sense of everything is the same, but still totally different. I really nerded out over it. The ending was honestly completely satisfying, but there were a couple of things that felt incomplete. I still have a couple of questions, and I would have liked a little more closure for certain things overall, though it was a good ending. All right, with the plot, I absolutely hated that Alex and Brad end up having an affair. I get that Brad had broken up with Nina Maria Young, but Alex didn't know that. I get that Alex was probably about to break up with Garrett Sebastian Duza anyway, but they were technically still together. I lose so much respect for characters when scenes like this are thrown into a movie just to move the romantic plot forward. I don't need those scenes. We are normalizing cheating on other people, and I'm not here for it at all. I still loved Alex and Brad together, but I think it would have been so much better had they gotten together without breaking the trust of other romantic partners. There were a few other subplots that I wish we could have spent more time on. First was with Ezra Luca Padovan. I wish we could have seen Alex actually build more of that relationship with him, although I seriously loved the scene where he brought her the letter to himself. That was basically his own self-portrait. I wanted to see more of Alex teaching overall, which I think is why I was disappointed with this specific subplot. The other one that I wanted to be wrapped up more was with her father, Jordi Mola. How could he have been so genuine when they meet for the first time and then just abandon her again? That felt super underdeveloped. Last subplot that disappointed me was the wrap-up with Nina and Brad. I get that Netflix's The Life List 2025 was already a longish movie, but I was really let down when all we get between Brad and Nina is hearsay about a fight and a breakup. I felt like Nina deserved more than that and wish we could have had some kind of talk between her and Brad, or even her and Alex with the ending. I still have a few questions lingering when everything was said and done. First, did her mother not make a DVD for True Love? Because it seems like she would have just in case, but there's no mention of it when Alex gets the final envelope that has her inheritance overall. This was an emotional movie with a beautiful relationship between a woman and her mother. I think there are so many good things about this movie, and honestly, only a few things I didn't like. This is definitely one of the better originals. I have seen this year a new gold standard. Netflix rom-com has officially arrived. Based on the acclaimed book by Lori Nelson Spielman, led by a dazzling performance from Sofia Carson and the golden retriever boyfriend energy of Kyle Allen. The Life List balances a perfect mix of romance, self-discovery, and tear-jerking tragedy. Anyone who has grieved a loved one, especially a parent, will find its messaging to contain pangs of rawness and authenticity my own. Mother left me and my siblings video messages for birthdays and special occasions, so large swaths felt pulled from the pages of my life story. Tying it all together is a lovable powerhouse turn from Connie Britton writer. Director Adam Brooks, definitely, maybe Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason. Practical Magic clearly knows his way around the genre, penning a script that feels like a warm hug brimming with positivity. The Life List wraps its complex topics in a blanket of lovely rom-com trappings. Early on, Alex Carson, Disney's Descendants. Purple Hearts must say goodbye to her mother, Elizabeth. Britton, American Horror Story, Friday Night Lights. Though this vital moment happens off-screen, Elizabeth's passing becomes a major catalyst for change in Alex's life, coasting at a job for her mother's cosmetics company, and in a relationship with a charming guy that she ultimately does not love. Alex still expects to be the sibling that Elizabeth hails as CEO during the reading of her will. Brad Allen, West Side Story, The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. The much younger executive of Elizabeth's estate brings some strange news. Elizabeth has left her company to her daughter-in-law and seemingly fired Alex from beyond the grave in the process, getting a glimpse into the bond they shared. It seems rather strange that Elizabeth does not include Alex amongst her will in private. Brad shares a package left by Elizabeth containing a DVD and a meaningful childhood bucket list in the first of several posthumous videos left by her mom. Alex's dreams and goals are called into question. Does she have any? Has she lost her way? This list, which includes performing stand-up, getting tattoos, and finding true love, will become Alex's roadmap for living her best life. As she checks off items, Alex must report back to Brad for the next DVD if she manages to finish the entire list by New Year's Eve. Elizabeth has arranged a special envelope for Alex that will give her closure on the whole affair, the life. List makes no qualms about the type of genre it falls into, lovingly embracing the tone of its cinematic ancestors. Piss, I love you. And the director's very own definitely maybe come to mind, tonally. Yet Adam Brooks finds a new path forward in exploring Alex's arc. The film is much more than just a montage of a girl checking off boxes to get her inheritance. Instead, Alex's journey gets the attention it so rightly deserves, fleshing out her character's aspirations at being a teacher and her ultimate motivations as she gets deeper into the list. Alex connects with Brad in not so surprising ways, despite him already having a long-distance girlfriend in the picture, lest we assume the romantic focus will detract from heartfelt revelations about Alex's past. Brooks finds ways to seamlessly combine the two worlds. For one, Britton's Elizabeth remains vital till the last second. Her presence looms large even after her passing. Every single DVD message contains biting words of wisdom, rippling with absolute gut punches of emotionality. Britton is the scene-stealing emotional core. Carson plays multiple sides to Alex as her character growth takes center stage. A simple love story this is not. Instead, Alex genuinely evolves as a person, taking risks, facing fears, and stepping into her mother's legacy on her own terms. As the second de facto lead, Alan's Brad supports Alex in surprising ways, being the obvious male led. Alan is downright adorable. The duo share an easy banter, laughing at each other's jokes, traveling together on road trips, and dishing out fashion advice. When the narrative takes a turn, Brad becomes essential to Alex's stability. Each item on the bucket list forces Alex out of her comfort zone. These never appear generic, instead offering varied and often hilarious aids. The ticking clock element of a New Year's deadline adds just a bit of urgency along the way. Alex experiences a potential love interest in hunky Dr. Garrett Sebastian, Dennis Duza skins fair play. Twilight jokes and mosh pits. The words of Elizabeth always underline lessons found or avoided in Alex's first-time experiences. Those who already do not care for rom-coms probably will find the life list does not change their minds. For everyone else, there are tears and smiles covering every quirky frame of the tropes. That bold romantic gesture will always be my favorite. A nuanced portrayal of grief makes Elizabeth's final message cut deeper than expected, charming and emotionally resonant. The life list gives instant, classic romantic comedy energy. You will want to cross off your list over and over again more. Detail first, there was the bucket list starring Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman as two delightful old-timers on a road trip to cross off all the things they want to do before they kick the bucket. Now there's Netflix's The Life list starring Sofia Carson as a much less delightful woman who is nowhere near the end of her life, but desperately needs a wake-up call. Written and directed by Adam Brooks and adapted from the novel of the same name by Lori Nelson Spielman. The Life List is an aggressively okay film. While it has a nice message about pursuing our goals, it lacks any flair and personality for it to be memorable. It's only redeeming quality is a cute budding relationship between Carson and Kyle Allen's characters. Alex Rose, Carson is stuck, and everyone can see it except her. She feels a million different questions at family gatherings about getting married and teaching again, though she claims everything is okay. After all, she has a boyfriend and a marketing job in her mother's cosmetic company. Her mother, Elizabeth Connie Britton, knows better. The Alex that Elizabeth knows would never lower her expectations or lose interest in her passion, still given the low energy Carson brings to the character. It's hard to believe there's another version of her who is a go-getter. We also never learn why she's in this slump or what she was like before this. Soon, her life changes when Elizabeth dies from a recurrence of cancer, when Alex and her siblings go to collect their inheritance from young Steve. Lawyer Brad Kyle Allen. She's shocked to learn that Elizabeth doesn't leave her control of the cosmetics company. Instead, Elizabeth encourages Alex to complete her life list, a sheet of paper filled with several different goals that her 13-year-old self had for her future. The list is meant to be a reflection of Alex's true self, except that it's made up of the most generic items like getting a tattoo, doing a stand-up comedy routine, making a difference in people's lives, and finding true love. But it's supposedly better than the life she lives now, and she'll earn her inheritance if she completes the list by New Year, as well as a new video her mother recorded for her for each item. If the life list was filled with unique ideas, or the film incorporated somewhat comedic scenarios, this would be a more engaging movie to watch. But watching Alex complete these basic tasks is as thrilling as watching someone read Moby. Dick, oh wait, that's exactly what this movie gives us, because that's the best that her 13-year-old self could come up with as a life goal. It also doesn't help that these tasks don't seem to change Alex's life in any way, one would think. Doing a stand-up comedy routine would make her appreciate the funny side of life, or make her proud. She put herself out there, but it leaves little to no impression on her or us as the audience. Even her return to teaching doesn't seem to spark much joy, which entirely goes against the whole point of this project. The only significant changes we see come from relationships. A chance encounter on a train, and at her new school leads to a romance with the impressive but controlling Garrett Sebastian Duza. But much like other parts of this film, his character is as generic as they come. Alex also spends a lot of time with Brad as she completes her list, and their dynamic is the most engaging one to watch, though his character is also the standard good guy who the main character will likely end up with. Type Allen brings a lot of charm to the role of a young lawyer hoping to make partner in his firm. Carson also looks the most lively when playing against him there, drunkenly belting. That's Not My Name by the Ting Tings is a cute moment. As unimpressive as Alex's list is, the same can be said about Brooke's handling of the life list. Overall, the dialogue between characters is so flat and unrealistic sounding at one point, Alex comments that Brad's girlfriend has a neck like Audrey Hepburn, quite possibly the one thing you'll never hear in a Brack. Normal conversation, even when the story allows for emotional beats between Alex and her siblings, or her strained relationship with her father Brooks, either goes too heavy on the cheese or doesn't give us enough time to feel for these characters. The life list may have an inspiring message for its viewers, but the way it tells the story is anything but, with little flair, flat characters and a script that pretty much writes itself. It's another unmemorable Netflix film that joins the abyss of forgotten about movies on the streaming platform. It's a shame given the lovely on-screen relationship between Carson and Allen. And the life-affirming reminder in this story, maybe it will encourage the cast and crew to put down, make a better movie on their own life lists in the future, with smarter streamlining the life list. Could have been impactful, as is the 2-hour-plus Netflix original Suffers By, attempting to blend two predictable storylines into one, a reductive romantic search for the one crammed in, alongside a drama about a directionless woman encouraged by her dead mother to rediscover her Devra in order to claim her inheritance. Not only does its narrative momentum stall all too frequently, but our heroine's completion. Quests lack the basics to deliver rousing feelings. Worse still, it's frustratingly more concerned with telling us how she's financially able to afford having a delayed quarter-life identity crisis in New York City than it Is with giving her journey toward enlightenment any genuine, satiating sense of internal transformation droll. Alex Sofia Carson is stuck in her life, only she doesn't realize it. She bides her free time in an unglamorous city loft apartment with her long-term layabout boyfriend, Finn Michael Rowland. She's been out of her dream job as a teacher for months and has fallen back on a career in marketing, working for her mom, Elizabeth's Connie Britton cosmetics company. Unlike her brothers, Lucas Dario, Latin Sanchez, and Julian Federico Rodriguez, she has no immediate plans for kids and suburban living. She's a caring aunt and a great friend to her sweet sister-in-law, Zoe Marianne Rendon, and snarky blonde bestie, Megan Chelsea Free. Yet, the world as Alex knows it is about to be appended. Elizabeth dies of cancer, or so we infer through context clues as the filmmaker treats saying it like it's the other C word, and has left specific instructions for her estate with fresh-faced associate lawyer Brad Kyle Allen in lie of getting an expected job, promotion, and familial belongings. Alex is surprised by a motherly lecture from beyond the grave on a recordable DVD. Mom's orders are clear. Alex is to accomplish 12 line items on her 13-year-old self's bucket list by the end of the year, or she won't receive her inheritance. Alex's mission to reignite her sense of self and spend a little more time with her mother via pre-recorded video vignettes won't be easy, as the list is filled with tough tasks like playing classical piano, reading Moby Dick, and finding true love. Adapting his film from Laurie Nelson Spielman's novel of the same name, writer-director Adam Brooks, definitely maybe experiences difficulty transforming the characters and their conundrums from page to screen. He fails to know exactly what to cut, what to keep, and what to completely overhaul, a huge family secret. Reveal takes us on a detour for a large portion of time that would play better in an episodic series rather than a condensed film. It maddeningly states and reiterates things that were shown mere minutes prior. There are assignments within Alex's original assignment, adding bullet points to her to-do list, like playing in a recital and completing Elizabeth's true love questionnaire, as well as further obligations to do other things that scare her for a week straight, with the exception of the two men who provide the film with its ridiculously unexciting love triangle. Everyone in Alex's orbit is one-dimensional and uninteresting. We're given few reasons to care about these people. Megan is a pretty terrible pal, torpedoing Alex's burgeoning relationship with potential paramour Garrett Sebastian Duza. Brad's gorgeous girlfriend Nina Maria Young is friendly with Alex, chatting and singing during a long car ride, but suddenly turns on her for no better reason than screenwriter contrived female jealousy. Julian and Lucas are so bland. They're basically interchangeable. Their wants are expressed late in the film, providing padding instead of an honest new angle. And then there's Alex. It's easy to understand the actions that have her settling for a drab career and passionless relationship, but we rarely empathize with her. Not for lack of trying either. Carson instills in her hints of humanity and tenderness underneath a hardened exterior, her comedic timing, nuance, and witty rapport. With Allen gift the film with glints of light and effervescence as she elevates the material while downplaying Alex's harder edges. Yet the character conceived by the author and filmmaker is fairly selfish, and when faced with opportunities to truly evolve, she doesn't take them. Her experience taming troubled student Ezra Luca Padovan almost earns her our sympathies. Almost she acquires new skills, inevitably, breaking free from her comfort zone. But that's different than growing as a human being. All she succeeds in doing is centering herself without doing any of the emotional labor, from the way she repeatedly sets up Garrett for failure, to how she doesn't factor in anyone's feelings but her own, specifically when confronted by men from her past who've disappointed her, where the narrative is left lacking. Brooks and company find some strength in their aesthetics. The dissolve from a God's eye view of a comforting warm embrace in a bed between mother and daughter to the cold sorrowful chill of Alex's lonely body hits us like a wallop backlit by golden light, the teenage girl-style handwriting that scrolls across the screen during the montage. When Alex completes a few goals evokes the nostalgia of a bygone era. The awkward conversation between Alex and her arranged father, Samuel Jose Zuniga, as traffic speeds between the pair, emphasizes the chasm in their relationship, gender flipping a few genre. Tropes like showing the guy as the klutz and having the girl chase him down to proclaim her love no longer passes for subversive. Sadly, the film sentiments hold as much depth and resonance as a live laugh love placard on a dusty shelf. At Home Goods, it's ironic that for a movie hoping to inspire us to take risks and rediscover our own dreams, it's far too comfortable settling for dull, formulaic conflicts and shenanigans to tell its tale. Extra information once upon a time, Netflix original movies promise to bring the cinematic experience into your home these days. The streamer is more inclined to deliver movies that feel like a copy of a copy, spanning genres from sci-fi blockbusters to YA fantasies and Hallmark-like Christmas rom-coms. Now Netflix is moving into Lifetime territory with a weepy romantic melodrama based on Lori Nelson Spielman's 2013 novel, The Life List. Like a lot of Lifetime movies, The Life List starts with a dead mom and ends with a romantic declaration of love, and like a lot of Lifetime movies, its sappy story is served up with the aesthetics of a car insurance commercial that happens to have occasional glimmers of heart. The mom in question is Connie Britton's Elizabeth Rose, who leaves behind an unusual last will and testament after she dies from cancer, while her adult sons and their wives get their inheritance right away. Her aimless 30-something daughter, Alex Sofia Carson, must pass through a gauntlet to receive hers. Specifically, Alex must spend the next year completing the ambitious life list that she wrote for herself when she was 13. Items on the list include goofy one-offs like going all out in a mosh pit and performing stand-up at an open mic night, as well as bigger dreams like restarting her teaching career and finding true love. Each time Alex checks off an item on the list, she gets a pre-recorded DVD message from her mom, who tries to guide her daughter towards reigniting the youthful spark she's lost. As an adult, Alex's year-long self-discovery journey includes hashing out drama with her dad, Jose Zuniga, discovering buried family secrets, and bonding with a troubled student. But as with many a Lifetime movie or Netflix movie with an identity crisis, all things eventually come down to a love triangle. Will Alex end up with her dashing British coworker Garrett Sebastian Duza, or the dweeb hot, just a friend lawyer, Brad Kyle Allen, who's helping her with her mom's will? That the plot is fairly predictable isn't inherently a problem. Writer-director Adam Brooks did great work elevating familiar tropes in his 2008 Ryan Reynolds vehicle. Definitely. Maybe, which is quietly one of the best rom-coms of the past 20 years. The trouble is that The Life List too often struggles to reconfigure its well-known tropes into something that feels alive and human, which is what one comes to romantic melodramas for. That's at least partially a budget issue. The charm of definitely may became the unexpected nuance it found in a glossy studio rom-com package. The Life List was clearly made on a shoestring budget in comparison, which impacts everything from the caliber of the cast to the amount of time spent on shot compositions. What the movie gains by shooting on location in New York City, it loses in a hollow opening act that too often relies on inert master shots where all the actors are crammed into the frame like a play. At 2 hours, The Life List is over long and filled with subplots that may have been meaningful in the novel, but just muddy the waters here. That includes a women's shelter that inexplicably has a classroom for high school students and a romantic rival who quite literally wanders off-screen the second she's no longer needed. While The Life List gets better as it goes along, it demands a high tolerance for sluggish filmmaking before it gets to the stronger stuff. Still, despite those considerable hindrances, there's a reason the Lifetime formula has endured this long. The Manipulation may be obvious, but it's still hard not to get choked up watching Britton deliver wistful, life-affirming, maternal advice from beyond the grave after a slow start. Carson and Alan eventually develop a nice chemistry in the film's third act. Alan, in particular, has real rom-com leading man potential. Even the movie's corny "Reclaim Your One Precious Life" message has the potential to resonate with those who aren't lactose intolerant to cinematic cheese. All of which makes The Life List not an especially bad movie, but a movie for a very specific audience, much like a live, laugh, love cross-stitch has its place in a certain type of home. The Life List has its place as a cathartic tearjerker for those who care more about life-affirming stories than quality film. Skeptics not already won over to the romantic melodrama genre, however, should cross this one off the list. The Life List 2025 is kind of like one of those magic eye pictures. If you manage to stare at it and relax your eyes in just the right way, maybe a cool three-dimensional image will emerge. On the other hand, if you concentrate too hard or are unable to, find that exact fuzzy space between eyes crossing and zoning out, then it's just going to remain a flat mess somehow. This movie lands for you probably also depends on how you feel about storylines regarding the vast wisdom possessed by terminally ill folks and emotionally ransom scavenger hunts for inheritances devised by those now dearly departed. Folks, I'm going to let you suss out my feelings on both based on that sentence alone. Overall, I just think this story of a young woman who, after the death of her mother, is forced to both revisit the loftier life goals of her younger self, while also pursuing romantical entanglements and facing a rather large and long-kept family secret, is trying to do a lot. The actors are all very shiny and attractive, and the script is brimming with lines that will feel soft and familiar. So like I said, if you relax your eyeballs just right, it's ultimately watchable, but notes I have a slew. Alex, Sofia Carson, is odd woman out at her family gatherings. She's not married and doesn't have kids. Plus, and don't tell her this, her brothers and mother think her famous bean salad is the worst guess. A sure sign that this woman needs to get her together. An even bigger sign: her boyfriend, Finn Michael Rowland, is a video game designer who is a good enough bro but never finished college and doesn't really give a rat's ass about her actual well-being. Her family probably likes him slightly less than her bean salad. She also stopped teaching her passion and now works at her mother's cosmetics company. Alex tells her mother, Elizabeth Connie Britton, that she thinks it may be time to give up on her dreams and passions altogether. But she also wears boots with her floral print dresses, so we know that she's still got enough spunk and charm to resuscitate every single one of her asphyxiating aspirations. Her mother is openly concerned about Alex, but she agrees to let it go for now, probably mostly because Elizabeth herself is sick again with what we can only presume is cancer, while Alex wants to go all in on aggressively trying to treat the disease. Elizabeth is quietly adamant that there will be no heroic attempts to find a magical cure. She has accepted that this is the end of her life. Then the movie neatly skips over all the unphotogenic parts of someone being terminally ill and dying and lands us in the emotionally fraught but still sanitized aftermath of Elizabeth's death. Alex and her brothers are bickering about how they should be speaking about their mother's possessions and who will be getting what as an inheritance. It's odd to me that a family that's supposedly so close wouldn't have had any kind of a discussion beforehand on these topics. While I'm perfectly capable of believing no one wanted to spend their time hashing who gets which painting it does, seem odd that as a businesswoman, Elizabeth wouldn't have had a meeting or two with her daughter-in-law, Catherine, Rachel Zigerhog, and Alex, both of whom work at the company, about a plan someone likely would have taken over before her death, or at least have been gotten up to speed on the responsibilities. But since we went from fully and vitally alive to magically gone that whole period, which was likely filled with a lot of pain, Illness, suffering, and a generally deteriorating and dying body doesn't exist. Instead, they arrive in the lawyer's office with no idea as to what they will inherit. Adding to the surprise is the fact that it's not their mother's usual old man lawyer, but some young buck named Brad Arian, Kyle Allen, with a mop of floppy and a pleasant disposition. How dare he? Brad tells them their mother was an amazing woman who, even when she was sick, she was strong and funny, which is when I know I'm probably going to have some real issues with this movie, because why wouldn't she still be funny? Or strong when she's sick. You twit funny is how a whole lot of people cope with being sick. Anyway, Brad does somewhat redeem himself by saying that he's honored to be the executive of her estate, and he damn well should be. Honored to be executing anything on behalf of Connie Britton's character. Then things get prickly because Brad explains that the house can't be sold for a year, but Elizabeth has made provisions to cover the costs. Alex is locked. Sister-in-law Catherine is now CEO of the cosmetics company, and Alex booted from her job as director of marketing. Yowa, way to really turn the chaos amp at the grief party up to 11 there, Elizabeth. But it's not over yet, because Brad has one more provision that he must discuss with Alex in private. Well, because it's complicated, and because these two cutie patooties are clearly destined for true love, so it's best we see them alone in a room ASAP. After some backing and forth thing, Brad gives her an envelope and tells her to open it at home. Back at the apartment she still shares with Finn, Alex pulls out a DVD and a list of goals she wrote when she was 13, now annotated in her mother's handwriting. So she puts in the DVD. And there's her mother talking to her about her life list, about how this list is Alex, about how it represents her dreams, her aspirations, her true goals in life. How somehow Alex got derailed from all this and has been just floating instead. But she says Alex can skip the parts of the list about getting a tattoo and learning to drive because moms are always anti-tattoos. And it's always fun when the very attractive leading lady is clumsy or bad at some basic life skill. You know, we love that very endearing, never patronizing. So Elizabeth tells Alex that she wants her to live her best life, and she wants her to get herself out of the hole she's in, although she won't be around to dig her out. She assures her that she sure as hell can leave her a shovel, but this is a very unfortunate metaphor for a recently departed mother to use, right? I realize she wasn't recently dead when she recorded it, but this is the danger in creating post-mortem scavenger hunts anyway. Elizabeth explains that she has designed a quest for Alex, where for each item on the life list she completes, Brad will give her another DVD. And if she completes all the items by New Year's Eve, she will receive her inheritance inside a red envelope. I have just a cornucopia of questions and concerns. At this point, I know a lot of people find this kind of guidance from beyond the grave very touching, and I'm really trying not to step on anyone's toes or heart here. But this whole setup upsets me deeply and profoundly. Look, I get wanting more time with someone you love after they die. I get it in the marrow of my bones. I get it in the deepest ache in my stomach. I get it. But my concerns with this are manifold. First of all, and this is getting a bit ahead of the story, the whole idea of someone who is very busy with the process of being incredibly sick and dying, having the time and energy to plan and execute this entire thing, feels like inspiration porn. It's leaning hard into the idea that the very sick and the terminally ill somehow have a direct line to greater understanding, peace and wisdom. It's glossing over the fact that the only business of the very sick and terminally ill is taking care of their own bodies. What they do beyond that is about their desires, their ability, their support system, and their access. But stories like this one never make that distinction. They're so concerned about packaging sickness to make it palatable to the non-sick that it doesn't even occur to them that they could be adding burden and stigma to the sick and disabled. Second of all, excuse me, but how old is Alex? She's a whole assault try-time and she's not making choices you like. So what? Sit down, Elizabeth. This is some very controlling behavior that may or may not end up being in her best interest. But it's for sure not the right way to go about things, and what if things had gone sideways entirely? What if she had started teaching again and realized it actually wasn't their dream anymore, and now she's dreamless and grieving her mother and watching a stack of DVDs with advice from a person who no longer exists, but who very much wants to impress and please, because it's her freaking mother. What? Then third of all, Elizabeth has a total of 3 children. And I'm not saying everything must be exactly the same and equal, but can you imagine if you got some painting and your brother got some books and your sister got a months-long, drawn-out, highly planned, intimate rite of passage with your mother? What because the brothers are married and have children, they are considered finished and all set. Are you kidding me? And there's a deadline. How does that even work? Why have a deadline? It's all almost cruel. When you take a step back from it, Nitutsis, this is why you should let your eyeballs and brain bits relax into just the right spots. So none of this is really visible, and the pretty parts just pop right out. What's very important is how Alexis going to get rid of Finn, because that man clearly has got to go. It turns out that her sister-in-law, Zoe Marianne Rendon, has the answer with a true love test that Elizabeth once taught her. But why didn't Elizabeth ever pass this wisdom down to her own daughter? What did these two very close women actually talk about? We don't know. But we do know that the love test consists of the following 4 questions. 1, can you tell him everything in your heart? 2, is she can? 3, does he help you become the best version of yourself? 4, can you imagine him as the father of your children? I'm not mad about this list of questions, though I would ditch the 4th one because it's extremely presumptuous. Note, everyone wants to have children, and imagining someone as a father is definitely not the same thing as them being a father. The question about him being kind feels a little wishy. Was shy only because I don't think people always take the time to really define what kind means does. It include treating people with dignity and respect. Ich Hoodie would add to this list. Can you express all the bodily functions you would like around him? You know, maybe you're not someone who wants to ever let a Burr-Porfar trip in front of your best beloved, but you should be able to decide what that level of comfort is. And then let'll hang out with your person, because nothing is worse than not being able to absolutely relax and be yourself in your very own home. Or I got distracted. Obviously, Alex realizes Finn does not fit these criteria and dumps his ass. She moves into her mother's house as she goes back to let Brad know that she's doing the quest because that's the only way she's getting the DVDs. And she likes checking things off as Shielzo spies a photo of his girlfriend Nena and goes on and on about how beautiful and perfect she's, and then uses it as an opportunity to throw. When a dig about how we has a stain on Histy realize it's supposed to demonstrate how cool, laid back, and funny Alexis and how they have some sparks, but it's mostly weird and objectifying toward. Now don't worry though, it will get worse. Alex does stand up, tries to read Moby Dick, gets frustrated with practicing Claire de Lune, looks for a job, and earns herself another DVD on which her mother insists she does one thing each day that scares. Sure was this movie created by Scotch Taping to get their motivational posters. Shielzo takes a walk with Brad where they discuss how we wants to conquer his fear of asking to be made partner, and how she wants to make peace with her dad when she refers to herself as a screw-up. He says she's not because this man sees her true self, people. He sees her true self. Also, he has a hookup for her with a job teaching high school kids at a women's shelter, where he does probably she the complete package, or what to not understand why she's not pro boning him immediately. I mean, I do have a whole movie to watch her, because this movie needs to have a few more moving parts. Alex finally manages to get into Moby Dick, and while she's reading it on the subway, she espies a genetically blessed man and says to him, "I know what you're thinking. What's a girl like me doing with a book like this?" And I had to pause so I could fish my eyeballs from the back of my skull and allow my nasal passages tore cover from my derisives north. They flirt about the book, and I'm certain there is a penis joke I could be making later when Alex's first day teaching at the shelter is going very, very badly. Who do you think just so happens to end up being her mentor will give you a hint it's not Ishmael Ahab or Moby Dicky? It's the guy from the subway whose name is Garrett Sebastian Duzin, and it turns out to be every suave, sophisticated guy who seems like he's got the right things going on, but also doesn't ever want to go to her place or hang with her friends, so he's absolutely day-old fish wrapped in fresh newspaper. Oh, did you think that was the last moving part, Naomi friend? There is also the matter of Alex's father, with whom she is set to reconcile, except that when they're making nice hellet slip that he's actually not their biological father. I'm sorry, I think I need to sit down, because Elizabeth thought it was a good idea to spend her time burning DVDs with Pathy life lessons, but she didn't stop to think that before her time on this mortal coil expired, she might want to let their daughter, or even all her children, know this life altering tidbit of information. For the love of all things, I can't even catch your dreams like fireflies in a jar, my dear girl. And by the way, your DNA comes from a musician with whom I had an ongoing affair, and I never thought to bring this up, even after your father and